Hey guys, it's Rod from Civil Advantage Firearms Training, or at least it used to be. It's more Rod from the CCFR. But anyway, here we are doing a review after 7 years for old time's sake, just for fun. But welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to talk about a rifle that's been around in Canada for quite a while, the Derya TM22. All right, guys, you know what's funny is I had to rummage around for an hour on old external hard drives, like the My Books, for the opening sequences for these videos, right? I think I got to a point, at some point in the last few years where I was like, I'm never going to use this stuff again. I'll just get it off my computer, put it on some external drive, and put it with the rest of the like 8 external drives I have. But I found it. We're going to be okay. Now, it's been 7 years since I did a review, obviously. And in the old Civil Advantage tradition, the purpose that you own a specific firearm is important. So from my perspective, the reason why I own a semi-automatic rimfire rifle, full-length barreled rifle, is for training purposes. And when I say training, just staying sharp. So I want to explain this because this is important, because I'm doing this review from my perspective. So what I use these rifles for is to stay sharp when it comes to handling firearms. So things like moving and shooting, controlling your muzzle direction, general safety, running the safety itself, right? Bringing the rifle up from whatever position. So bringing the rifle up or down, depending on where you were and what you were doing when you decide to place a shot. Aligning the sights, getting a sight picture, and then pulling the trigger and placing accurate shots, however many you believe is necessary at the time, on a target, and then flipping back to safe and going and doing the next thing, right? So these are things that you can use a semi-automatic 22 for to save yourself a little bit of money instead of doing that all with 5.56 or 223. Does it completely replace training with an AR pattern rifle or any other semi-automatic like that? No, it doesn't. But that act of bringing the rifle down, aligning the sights, and pulling the trigger accurately, running the safety while you're doing that, like that is important training, and that's how you stay sharp. Threat identification, making the decision or not to shoot. You can do all of that stuff with rimfire rifles. So that's why I own them specifically, not really for plinking or long range shooting or whatever. So that's my perspective. I just want to share that with you. All right, quick tour of the rifle. So this is a semi-automatic rimfire rifle. It has an 18-inch barrel for whatever reason, but that's okay because it's mimicking a full-size rifle, so I don't mind that so much. The forend itself, or handguard, is full length, okay, and it has M-lock slots on it. Not a big fan of M-lock. I'm sure lots of guys are. I just find that I have to really fiddle with them to put rails on there. I'm kind of old school where it's really nice when I have a pick rail on both sides and top and bottom. I know it rips your gloves off. I know that there's weight associated with it, but you don't have to fool around. You want to attach something, you attach it there. You want to move it somewhere else, you just move it, right? You pull your light off, just click it on somewhere else, right? So, but anyway, it's got M-lock, so it does cut down on weight, and it's smooth. So it's not going to bother your hand grabbing this forend. The muzzle itself is, the barrel is threaded. So threaded barrel in case you have to put a muzzle brake on there to quell the recoil of a 22 long rifle, or to tamp down that big fireball that comes out of there. You can put that on there, but anyway, whatever. It's threaded. That's awesome. Maybe if you were in a civilized country, you could put a suppressor on there, right? That might be a thing. As far as the receiver is concerned, milled into the receiver is a pick rail on top. So now that's something else you don't have to buy. It's on there already. You can mount your optics, and away you go. The pick rail itself, that's machined into the top of the receiver, is long enough that you can get that optic away from your eye. So I've talked in previous videos about optics. You want to push them out a little bit. You don't want them right up close to your eye for, the obvious reason. You don't want, maybe not with a 22, but in a hunting rifle or something larger, you're going to get scope bite on your orbital. But the real reason is the further away you put that optic, the smaller it is in your field of vision, right? So I like to put them forward a little bit, get them away from my face, so it's just occupies a little bit of a smaller area that allows me to see a little bit better around it. So anyway, it doesn't really affect your accuracy. It just gets it out of your face. Anyway, okay, so next, the charging handle. So the charging handle is not bad. It's small, but it's checkered. So you can get a good grip on it. The travel's quite short, as it is for 22s anyway. But that's completely fine. It is not reversible, so lefties will be maybe disappointed, or you'll just have to learn your gun, right? But it's not reversible. Same thing with the magazine release. It's here with on your right index finger. It is not reversible either. So if you're left-handed, you're gonna have to find a way to get around there. The safety itself is actually pretty cool. I was like, what is this thing? There's barely any travel, and I'm like, you get used to it, and it's pretty neat. The one thing I do like about the safety is it's oversized, right? So you can rest your thumb right over top of it. And I'm a big advocate of running the safety every single group of shots you take. So if I bring the rifle up, fire 3 or 4 shots, whatever I think is necessary at the time, and I'm gonna move to another location or bring the rifle down, I'm running that safety. As soon as I'm done shooting, safety's on, and I'm off to do the next thing. I'm gonna shoot. As I bring the rifle up, the safety comes off. So anyway, not a lot of travel, but it's in the same direction of an AR-15 pattern rifle, which is point your thumb at the muzzle, like bullets go down range, safety's off, which is great. Pull the bullets back by flipping your thumb back. You're pulling the bullets away from the muzzle, basically, and the safety's on. Okay, so pretty cool. Let's talk about the trigger. The trigger is awesome. Okay, this is a big feature. So this rifle, I think, was produced maybe a year and a half ago, maybe something like that. It's fairly new, so I don't know what the older versions of this rifle are, but the new version comes with a flat trigger, which is really cool. It's almost like you're getting a competition trigger, and it's like 2 pounds ish pull. Like, it's a beautiful trigger. Not a lot of travel, not a lot of creep. It's crisp, it breaks nice, so you can shoot fairly quick with this rifle. So it's pretty nice. So again, just like the forend, you're getting something stock that you don't have to buy later or pay for later. Same thing with the trigger. Instead of having to need, it's like, oh, the trigger kind of sucks, I want to hot rod this thing a little bit. It doesn't matter. The trigger that comes with it is almost a competition trigger as it sits. So a bit of value there. So the grip, another interesting thing. So the grip is a typical AR-15 grip that you would get off the open market, or aftermarket, I should say. But the place where the grip gets attaches to the receiver is canted. So I don't know, you can probably see that. It's canted, it's not straight. It's actually angled to make the grip more at a 90 instead of, swept back. So if you remember the old AR-15s and those kinds of pattern rifles, the grip is like swept right back. So by the time you bring that up to your face, like your wrist is canted right over, and makes you a little bit less strong on the rifle. After a while, if you're old like me, maybe your wrist starts to hurt, whatever. Well, if you look at modern rifles, newer rifles, the grip is now more of it at a 90 from the receiver. So what they've done is they've milled this in so that even if you have an old swept, grip from an AR-15, you can use it because it's the socket area, the place where it connects to the receiver is actually canted. So all your grips will be nice and closer to a 90 for you. Anyway, the stock, pretty complicated. It's got a cheek riser and everything. I guess for accuracy, maybe competition shooting, I don't know. Long distance shooting, it's not my thing, but and of course it's extendable. And the buffer tube here is like an AR-15. It's a commercial tube, so any stock that will fit on a commercial tube will fit on this rifle. It's got a little attachment for a sling, a flat sling here. And yeah, now the next thing I want to talk about is this rifle is all metal. And that's a really big deal to me, because let me tell you, I bought some semi-automatic rimfires for training purposes. They're really cool, modern looking. They kind of look like an MP5. You may know where I'm going with this. I'm not going to name them, but I made a big investment. I bought 2 of them, paid about $700 for each one of them, and I bought 18 mags. And I'm like, okay, well, I like these things, and my buddy had gotten one, and it was flawless. It never jammed. And it had kind of a nice manual of arms. I'm like, this is pretty cool. I buy 2 of them, make this big investment. And during COVID, I probably shot 20,000 rounds of 22, maybe 17,000 maybe. I really, really trained out in the bush by myself. Like nothing else to do, just work and shoot and hang out, I guess, right? So these rifles were great for about 4,000 rounds. They were flawless. Like 3,000, never jammed, no matter what, no matter how dirty they got. And so I'm clean them up, take them back out, and then about after 4,000 rounds, like jam, 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 and then shortly thereafter, maybe 1,000 rounds, maybe, they're jam-o-matics. Can't shoot 3 rounds without jamming. And inside these guns, everything's like, these guns are all plastic. You're zeroing in on what guns these are. But even the bolt carrier assembly, even the bolt assembly is housed in plastic. And they have little bolts going into plastic, and they actually strip that hold the bolt assembly together. So I was very disappointed, and the warranty was really bad. That process was really bad. So I basically lost all my money on those 2 guns, whereas this is all metal. The bolt itself, I think, is nickel plated. You open this thing up, it's easy to disassemble, and everything is metal inside, like everything. It's all metal. So this gun will last you like a Ruger 1022 is going to last. It's going to last you a lifetime, basically, if you're not, shooting 80,000 rounds a year or something like that. When it comes to disassembly, there are bolts. I'm not a big fan of bolts for disassembly, but most guns use them, that aren't, something you'd use as a duty weapon or whatever, right? So there's 3 bolts in the upper receiver, and this pick rail comes right off. Now the downside, I will mention a downside, is you have to take the optic off depending on the optic. If it's too big, this is a Vortex Strike-Fire 2, great optic, great company, great warranty, awesome. Vortex, I love them. But you have to take this off, remove those 3 bolts, but then the top of the receiver comes off and everything's right there. Very simple gun, and everything's metal in there. So you can just yank out all the parts, clean them up, put it back together, very lightly lubricate the inside of the action, and that's it. You're good to go. As far as reliability is concerned, I pulled this, the way I operate is pretty bad. I pulled this thing right out of the box. I didn't run anything down the barrel. I didn't clean it, nothing. I just grabbed magazines, went to the range. So I shot, I believe, around 600 rounds, no jams, right from new. I didn't put any lubricant in there. Like, I didn't oil it. No jams, 600 rounds. Then it started to around 600-700 rounds, and actually you see in the video, I started to get some jams. That's about 600, 700, 800 rounds, somewhere around there. The gun was getting really dirty. I sprayed some brake free in there, worked it a bit. It worked a little bit better after that, but I did have to go home and clean it. Sorry for the bad news, but I did have to clean it over, after 800 rounds. So I cleaned it, and I've shot maybe 400 or 500, to be honest with you, maybe 400 or 500, and it's been good. Now, this is not a 15,000 round review. There's lots of reviews on YouTube out there. Check out some torture tests or whatever if you're concerned about that kind of thing. I use CCI mini mags, by the way, not Blazer. And I think what Anthony over at Odell Engineering told me was that Blazer is what they kind of spec'd this out to run. But I use mini mags. You pay a little bit more, but I don't want any trouble with rimfires, so I buy the expensive, higher velocity stuff. Okay, now as far as accuracy is concerned, so that was sort of the reliability part. As far as accuracy is concerned, my whole thing, like back in the training business or whatever, my life is hallways and door frames, right? It's not long distance shooting. But I did find a video on YouTube from a channel called BroTuned, and I've got a link to it in the description box below. I think it's a great video. I think it's 20 some odd minutes. But the guy in the video puts this thing through the paces, different ammo, different distances. And from what I saw in his video, and you're free to watch it yourself, is this rifle will shoot 2 MOA, which is not bad, right? I would imagine, depending on the ammunition that it both likes and the ammunition that's consistent. Okay, so last but not least, magazines. So the magazines that come with this rifle are 10 rounders, I believe. I didn't get this in a retail box. This was sent to me directly from Phil Odell over at Odell Engineering. So thank you, Phil, for that. Really appreciate it. And it's a special rifle. And I'll talk about that in a second. But I think they come with 2 10-rounders. They're metal, they're proprietary, so at least you don't have to worry about them getting banned because they fit into a handgun or something. They don't. Then you can get 15 rounders, and they are plastic. And then you can get 25 rounders that are plastic. They're a little difficult to load, to be honest with you. Not the end of the world, but I am going to be uploading a video of the easiest way that I found to load them, because they're hard on your hands for some reason. But the 25 rounders it's quite circular, so that's what it looks like with a 25 rounder in there. But they work fairly well, and that's all fine. Now, all this to say, buy or don't buy the Daria TM22. I think it's well worth the money. They're not that expensive. They're all metal. They're going to last probably a lifetime, depending on how often you use it and how well you take care of it. And easy to get accessories. There's a bunch of stuff you don't have to buy. The forend, pick rail on top. If you're really into the long distance stuff, you get a cheek rise, you get all these things on the stock. It's a really nice gun, and the trigger is phenomenal. So all that to say, yeah, I think it's worth the money, and I think it's got a place in everyone's collection that's looking for a reliable, accurate, cool 22 caliber semi-automatic. Anyway, there is your Civil Advantage review for the first one in 7 years. The only thing I want to leave you with is there's an interesting story behind this rifle, and I want to tell you that story. So I'm going to upload another video called TM22 Behind the Review, and just some information about the rifle itself, how it was sent to me, and a little bit about the drills that I'm doing that you may have seen a little bit throughout the video. So anyway, if you want, you can check that video out. Take care, everybody. Thanks for coming back and watching, and maybe we'll see you in the next one.